What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Down Unders. And again, another positive week for both our squads. My brother, Brody, as always, welcome in, my bro.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. As I said, bro, it's so good to come in. And a positive note, your doggies, again, the comeback kings. And my Warriors just consistently holding on to leads at the moment that are slowly withering away, just giving me heart attacks. But, you know, sitting pretty at the top of the competition, both our sides, bro. How good. Could you imagine this would have been this to start the season?
No, definitely not, brother. Especially clear as well. We're not just like, you know, up there on for and against. Like we're points clear, and the Sharks doing us both a favor and knocking Melbourne off and just keeping them that little bit further away. Yeah, look, can't complain, brother.
And shout out to the Titans for not doing their job and knocking off the Raiders to make it a little bit more clear for us, even for this weekend coming, because there could be things changing, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on in the show, guys. Quickly, want to preface a rundown of the show, guys, so you guys understand what's going on. No Supercoach show tomorrow night. We thought we'd just chuck it into this one here due to the amount of news actually going around at the moment. So we thought we'd just cram it all into one big show so you guys get your weekend to try and figure out your trades coming to this week of Supercoach. We'll also touch on the State of Origin squads, our thoughts around, you know, some of the snubs around the squads, and a couple other news going around the league. So are you ready to go, my bro?
Ready to dive straight in, brother.
All right, we may as well touch on our two teams to start off before we go over to Origin, bro, because as I said before, it's such a positive time. 24-20, your doggies get it done over the Roosters over the weekend. You know, going into halftime, 14-0 down. As I told you, I had a bet on the Roosters head-to-head in this game. As soon as I saw it was 14-0 at halftime, I took the cash out straight away. I was like, the Dogs are going to do it again, and guess what? They did it again, bro. How's it feel?
Oh, the shout out from Luke at work to say that you should have put the money on the doggies. That would have been great. Double flip your money. Look, obviously not overly happy with how we start the games, but a win's a win, bro, and I'll take it. You know, we're down on troops. Any win we can get through this period where we're missing probably 6 of our starters is a great time. You know, it gets harder again this week. But, you know, hopefully the boys can still dive in and it's just next man up. And that's such the mentality that the Panthers had for such a long time, and now the Warriors and the Bulldogs really are showing that same mentality. It's just next man up. No matter who's in, no matter who's out, the guys just keep ripping in. You know, you guys are doing the opposite end of the coin. You're just starting really well and then going to sleep. Whereas, you know, it's going to be a great game when we play each other, but it's whoever scores the most points in their half.
It's going to be a clash of the Titans, bro. Like, hopefully, you know, we discussed this earlier on because we are going to that Sydney game, and we're just praying that both our sides are still at the top of competition. So it is that clash of the Titans for us overall. But, man, talk about clash of the Titans too. One of the most incredible moments in this game. You know, there was a lot of moments that actually happened in this game that I really, really enjoyed. Very entertaining game, in my opinion. But first of all, Mark Nwangani Tuwase can score a hell of a try, but cannot catch a hell of a bomb. So, bro, but first of all, that try, man, how great. That was crazy.
I watched it live and I was like, nah, that's sweet. He went out. And like, you don't even realize what he did until you watch the replay like 3 times on hopping on that one leg and to just measure the ball in the wet. Like if you watch all the kicks earlier in the game, bro, they're hitting the ground and sliding 5 meters. Somehow this guy's managed to make it hit the ground and just bounce straight up on the spot. And oh, what a miraculous finish. You're right. Too bad he can't catch a bomb, but hey, things to learn on.
Oh, bro. And as soon as the doggies smelt blood with that bomb, they were just chucking it up for him all day. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, you know, getting ready for Origin, we will talk about it very, very shortly, but Spencer Leniu, bro. That man was on a mission just to take out every doggy that was on the field. And shout out to Saluka Fafita. How much would you need to be paid to get in front of that raging bull of Spencer Leniu?
I would need to be the highest paid NRL player to even attempt that. Honestly, like, it just makes you think, like, if the Blues win the toss and, like, choose to receive, you would almost swap him out just to start the game, just to have that impact. Because you know more than likely he's going to knock somebody out. And then, bang, Queensland's down to 16 straight away.
Bro, talking about all the, like, you know, the run it straight challenges going around the world at the moment. Obviously, they're trying to take that into a competition. We actually know one of the boys that are doing that, guys, if you guys already don't know. And shout out to everyone jumping into the chat too, guys. This is a live show, so jump into the chat any questions and stuff. There will be Supercoach chat a little bit later on after, you know, at the end of the show too, guys. So get your questions ready for that. But shout out to Semiosa, our boy. You know, we played with him at Narang Bar. You played with him when you grew up through a Redcliffe system in the Runner Straight challenges. Bro, how do you think Spencer Lenu would go up against like a Semiosa?
There'll be, I don't know, there'll be like a collapse of the building when those two would clash, I reckon. Like he's a big boy, Sammy. But I think Spencer's built different, bro. Like it's just years and years of that shit at the highest level. Like he's not just running over guys in park footy. It's like running over other NRL players. Like scary shit.
100%.
I don't know why we kicked there more than once.
Bro, that was the whole thing is like, can you please stop kicking it that way, please? I'm sure... Bro, I'm sure Saluka Fafita's sitting in the back, you know, with his headache and all that, and just looking at the boys and be like, why did we kick it back there again? Like, whose option was that?
King got run over. Why would we go there again? Did Maxi go like, yeah, I want it again. Go again. Like, what the fuck?
When he saw Maxi do that, it was like, that was probably where Laurie's just gone, yep, Origin, tick.
Balls, yep.
Oh,
you're not wrong.
Bro,
you're not wrong.
Craziness.
Roomies.
Oh, probably, bro, probably. But enough about the Roosters. You know, great performance there from your boys. 14-0 down. You know, Viliami kick out coming out and getting this thing started. And, you know, as soon as the boys started to get a roll on, it looked like it was, you know, you guys are just really getting into your swing of things and your defense. Just the way you just put pressure on sides, causing errors and stuff and making turnovers and really striking on turnovers is actually, it's all class at the moment. It does remind you of those early days Penrith Panthers squads.
Oh, 100%, bro. And it's shout out to Bailey Hayward, you know. I think he's the one that brings the momentum swing for us, and he does it in such a way of line speed for such a little guy, but he's so up in your face so quickly. And then a couple of those tries he laid on, especially the 1-4 kick out there, bro, turning an Origin player inside out like that of Lindsay Collins. And yes, I know he's coming back from a knee injury, but regardless, he's Origin standard. He's playing Origin now this week coming. Like for Bailey Hayward to just do that little in the way, bro, and just lay that on nicely for kick out. Shout out to him, man. The last 2 weeks now, he's really dragged us out of the fire. And I know he gets a lot of recognition in the Dogs community, but I think everybody else in the NRL world isn't seeing exactly how important he is to us, because you see that momentum swing when he comes on.
100%, man. Like, you know, you guys have got some real classy players within your midst, and obviously the Perth Bears come into the competition. I'm sure that your boys will probably want to lock up those sort of guys, because as soon as the market comes around, as soon as the Perth Bears come onto to the market, they're going to be hunting boys like, you know, Kurt Manns, you know, you got Bailey Haywoods of the world, like even some of your young forwards that you're bringing through currently right now that have been through such a good system. You know, you want to be hunted, like obviously locking these boys down for the future, right? So I'm sure you'd love to have Bailey Howard around for a lot longer. I'm
pretty sure we did extend his contract. I think we got him until the end of 2027, 2028 off the top of my head. I do remember seeing some news on that.
Yep, and you're already starting to notice it with a couple other signings, which we'll talk about very, very shortly as well, with the New Zealand Warriors getting it done over the Dolphins, 16-12. We were at this game. You know, great performance overall from the boys. You know, some 50-50 calls went our way, which was like, you know, I had to say to Brody, I had to look down. I was like, am I wearing a Broncos jersey? Like, is this a Broncos game? What's going on here? But Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, bro, he definitely had a rusty game in that one. But good to see the boys, their composure, you know, the control in this game. I know the whole argument of if the Dolphins, you know, they had that knock on go their way, maybe they could have scored and, you know, put a lot of pressure on us. That was a 4-0 scoreline at that point. You know, and then obviously we scored off the back of that, pushing it to 10-0. But I think the defense the boys showed kind of gave me the confidence in that game to be like, nah, I feel like we could have, you know, got into the swing of things. Probably couldn't have scored before halftime, maybe not. But I'm sure the boys would have found another sort of way to get it done, in my opinion. Yeah,
well, look, at the end of the day, you got to defend whatever is thrown at you. It's not like it was a call that went against them that made them defend back-to-back sets anyway, you know? No. So, like, if he just took that ball cleanly, and this is not making an excuse for it at all, definitely the wrong call.
It was a horrible call.
If, you know, if he caught that ball cleanly anyway, you still would have had the same amount of tackles you had in that next set coming. So, yeah. It's no excuse that the Dolphins didn't have to, you know, defend 12 tackles in a row because that was a bad call that gave the Warriors another set. It was just a bad call that gave them the ball, which they would have got if he took it cleanly. So it was still up to the Dolphins to defend that and not get frustrated by it. But, you know, they did. Try came off it, and it just makes it look a lot worse than it was. You know, it wouldn't even be talked about really if the Warriors didn't score. So,
Yeah.
but yes, 100% the wrong call, but wrong calls happen on a daily basis in the game. If the Dolphins are smart, challenge, like deliberately hold down, give away the penalty, challenge.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And at the end of the day, very, very happy with the performance of the boys overall from the stuff that we couldn't control, what we could control, sorry, not what we couldn't control. It was 16-0 all the way up till 10 minutes ago. And that's when the Dolphins, actually 9 minutes ago, if you want to be right at the dot, where Hamiso first went over. But it was 16-0. We had control defensively. It looked like we were shutting down a lot of everything that the Dolphins were throwing at us. I thought we put a lot of pressure on their playmakers and their outside men, and then the sin bin ended up getting them a little bit more of a sniff later on in that game because, when we were 16-0, I felt pretty comfortable. When that other try went in, it kind of was like, oh, okay, they're going to make it close. Then the sin bin happened. That's when I started looking around going, all right, here we go again. But
yeah.
For a collective in that game, very, very positive. And I thought the control the boys showed out there was unreal, especially with some debutants out there too.
Yeah, 100%. The debutants, bro, the frustration of, tries back and forth with them being disallowed. Normally you see teams go into their shell thinking, fuck, what do we got to do to get over the line? You guys held your own. You obviously put the early tries on, and the Dolphins kind of shut up shop a little bit when they had a couple denied until that last 9 minutes. So, shout out to Whale Rider in the chat. Exactly right. The tries denied do have an impact on how you're playing confidently. So definitely that's a big talking point as well. But, full strength Dolphin squad almost, other than Maxi Plath. And you guys come out on top with all your guys' injuries. So can't complain about that, brother.
100%, bro, 100%. And shout out to, as we just touched on before, with the Perth Bears always chasing people at the moment. Us locking up, obviously, Leka Alasima. Shout out to Leka till 2029, and also Jacob Laban for the same amount of time as well. And we needed to lock both those kids in, incredible talent. As you know, I've been waxing lyrical about these kids for fucking ages, especially Leka. It's so good that we've locked up these kids now and, not giving the opportunity for other kids, other clubs to sniff around our talent.
Yeah, 100%, brother. I think just before I jumped on Instagram as well, and I've seen the Eels lock up about 4 or 5 of their guys as well. Yeah. So I think everybody's kind of going through it now and oh shit, who don't we want to lose to one of these new teams?
Yeah, exactly. But while we're at it anyway, we may as well move over to State of Origin, my bro. It's a massive time of the year. We all love it. Guys, if you don't know, if you weren't here last year and understanding what, I'm a Queenslander. BRODIE is a New South Wales boy, so it's probably the perfect show to really discuss both these sides and our thoughts around the sides. So let's move over to the team list here, bro. You would have seen it extensively over the week of work. We spoke about it multiple times, but your thoughts overall on the squad here. The Blue squad, first of all. Dylan Edwards at fullback, Brian Toto, all the normal names we saw. Mitchell Moses getting the halves look with Nathan Cleary. The big call, obviously, no Terrell May, but shout out to your boy here, Maxi King, getting his spot. As you know and love that man, and it's great to see he's getting a nod over some really big names.
Yeah, look, pretty much top to bottom of what we both kind of predicted with this Blue squad. I know I did leave Latrell out, and then after that game against the Broncos, I changed my mind, and especially how Terrell Ridge looked. So other than that, that's literally top to bottom on what we said, other than the Terrell May shout, which, you brought up a really good point before. I've seen a lot of other people bring it up now on why Terrell May was maybe left out. So if you wanted to share those thoughts, because I think that was actually bang on. And I actually think, at the end of the day, Max King is a more system and team player. Yeah, this is my looking at it as opposed to a Terrell May, and I had other guys that I could potentially see over him as well. Don't get me wrong, individual beast Terrell May, but when it comes to, origin and energy in the systems, well, by all means, I see where they're going with Max King there, and he deserves it. He's had a great year. Keon's another great shout. Brandon in the chat there is right. But it's food for thought. But any of these guys are probably going to do a job. I wouldn't have been mad if Terrell May's there. I wouldn't have been mad if Keon's there. I wouldn't have been mad if Max King got in like he did. The guys I probably would have been questioning was one of the Saifidi boys. That's when I'm like, or running 2 back rolls on the bench of Olakau'atu and Hudson Young.
Yeah, I agree.
Share your thoughts on your thinking behind why Terrell got snubs, because I think that's bang on, brother.
Yeah, 100%. And shout out to, who was it that actually said it before I could actually get a chance to say it out there. But we were discussing this at work, and you know, guys, also I want to preface this. I hope this doesn't get looked at coming from hate, because I feel like it's at a point right now, whenever you say anything bad about Terrell May, people's going to be like, oh, it's hate, like, you know, this and that, right? You guys already know to start the season, I wasn't really buying into the Terrell May hype very early on. Coming during the season, I put my hands up and I was like, he's playing incredible footy. Like, attacking wise, he's incredible out there, gets through a ton of work. He's a fitness monster, does a great job in those moments. But there's still the same things I pointed out earlier to the reason why I don't really think like the hype of him overall is still like the kind of things I kind of hold on to. Is probably the similar things that I heard Laurie Daly come out with his defensive inabilities, right? And first of all, I want to touch on, you know, people always bringing up the stats of, you know, the defensive movements, you've missed tackles, stuff like that. Unfortunately, missed tackles is a stat, right, where you're going to have to try and make a tackle first to get pushed, whether it's a missed tackle or not a missed tackle. So those moments where, you know, let's say a front row forward gets caught in the mud and, you know, there's a massive line break, he doesn't even get close to attempting that tackle, it won't get put up as a missed tackle, right? Tackle efficiency is a very similar stat. As soon as the tackle happens, it's really whether it becomes a dominant tackle or a non-dominant tackle. That's why you get ineffective tackles and you get dominant tackles overall, right? So these are the issues I had with Terrell May earlier, is his work when he's in A defender, he's sometimes even B defender outside, or even in a ruck at marker. He doesn't work over as hard enough as a, let's say, and this is putting him up against some of the best props in the competition, which a lot of people are doing right now. So this is why I put it this way. You look at James Fisher-Harris, you look at Mitch Barnett, you look at Max King, you look at all these other big props out there that are very defensive minded, right? As soon as they get into marker, they work out from marker. They shut down the little gap in between the A defender. Sometimes Terrell, when he's in the A defender, he gets caught ball watching. He gets stuck in the mud. He doesn't move his feet at times, and he gets caught out. If guys want examples for this, go check out the English game against Toa Samoa. Obviously, he got caught out a couple of times with George Williams sniffing back underneath the ruck and him getting caught out ball watching. If you want to see an earlier game this season against the Dolphins, which I thought the Dolphins were going to attack so much more. But the key game that this got caught out in is against the Melbourne Storm. So the Melbourne Storm, you know, obviously poured in 64 points, and it wasn't just Terrell May in that game. I don't want people to think I'm just bashing Terrell May for this, because this, as I prefaced before, these are just little things that I think that maybe could have gone into this decision, because I had him in my predicted team and you had him in the predicted team. Yep. I think he was good enough to be there. These are just little things that I'm just pointing out to say, like, maybe there is a little bit more food for this thought. But guys, when I talk about the Melbourne Storm, you know, breaking down these moments, who is the coach in the Melbourne Storm, Brodie?
It's Craig Bellamy.
And what was the reason why Laurie Daly got elected as coach? Like, what was the main reason for? There was a guy overseeing Laurie Daly, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
It was Craig Bellamy, right? So when it comes to the selections, I'm sure Craig Bellamy would have had a lot to do with these selections, especially when you're seeing Stefano Otsikamanu sitting on that bench, and maybe players like a Max King who was in that Melbourne Storm system before he went to the Dogs. So now you're looking at Craig Bellamy as, you know, breaking down the Tigers, the way he broke down Terrell May. He'll be obviously discussing this with Laurie Daly. But also another layer to this argument, who is the coach of the Queensland Maroons, Brodie?
It is Billy Slater.
And who does a lot of the attacking work with the Melbourne Storm? Billy
Slater.
Yeah, so like it all comes together to...
Adding to that, who plays for Queensland?
Cam Munster, Harry Grant. Like, you're looking at Melbourne players throughout, you know, the whole side. Trent Liero is going to be playing for him this year as well. So a lot of this, I feel like, has got to come a culmination of things in general. When people say defensive inabilities, they're not saying that Terrell May's a slouch defensively. There's just things he needs to work on. And as Laurie pointed out, there's things in Max King's game where he works back from, you know, positions. He's always working hard. He's moving his feet currently. That's little things that Terrell May probably needed to work on. Does Laurie need to tell May and be like, hey, this is what I think you need to do to get to Origin? Maybe. That's probably the best way to go about it. But like at the end of the day, like I would have had him there, you would have had him there, but I don't think it's just Laurie Daly that made the decision. I think that Craig Bellamy might have had a little bit to play into this decision as well, in my opinion.
100%. And he's also like, I think he shot himself in the foot a little bit coming out on the live, and I know it was harmless, but I reckon you probably would have seen him in camp at least. You know, maybe not getting the starting spot, but in camp at least until he's gone and shot himself in the foot, or you would have seen him in there for camp for game 2. But now that he's come out and, you know, said what he said, and he's got that ego about him, and it's, again, you're 100% right. It's no knock on him, but it is his second year as a front rower as well. First year
100%.
starting. He needs to realize that, you know, Max King's been chipping away at this forever. He's been building his game for about 5-6 years now from when he started with Melbourne. And I know Terrell May's played a bit of NRL last year and the year before, but this is the first time he's starting. No one's expecting him to be perfect, but I like the shout of going with someone like Max King, who's already got that in his game. And that's not to say that Terrell May will miss out again next time, but he just needs to work on it. And it's not a bad thing. You know, guys will be working on stuff all the time. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think that it has come from that Tigers game in particular, that Melbourne game in particular. And I think Craig Bellamy has had a lot to do with this. And at the end of the day, little moments matter in Origin. All Queensland really needs to do is get one slip up out of him, and the game could be gone. It's so hard to run down 6 points in a game of Origin, especially at Suncorp. Game 1. So
yeah, and it's not just me. Like, it's not just me overall. Like, you know, just put us into place. Like, I've heard Willie Mason, his thoughts of Terrell May change over the long period, like over the course of the season as well. But when he first was talking about Terrell, he was obviously saying he's just not an Origin player at the moment. Like, when you watch Terrell May, he's a workhorse, right? Gets through a ton of runs, ton of run meters that add on the back of that, can play 80 minutes. But, you know, he's not really the front row forward that's going to punch a hole through the line. He's not like a, you know, obviously we're touching on Payne Haas and that, but not even looking at Payne Haas, like Adam Fanua-Blakes, even like a Keon Kolomatangi, a Spencer Leniu, stuff like these guys that just punch holes through the line and do it that sort of sensitive way. And he doesn't need to do it that way either. He's got a really nice offload in his game. Works really hard and that sort of sense of the things. But Willie's always said to start, he's not an Origin player just yet. Allow him to grow and continue to grow. He's doing incredible statistical things. But like, statistical's only one part of the game. There is an eye testing that's a part of the game as well, and what teams kind of break down with certain players. And so, like, I think there's got to be a little bit more of like just saying like, look at the stats. And guys, you know how much I love my stats. But the reason why I love my stats is to round out my arguments and to really, you know, push it into like, this is why I feel this is the way it is, instead of just going out there and be like, well, Laurie's wrong because he only missed like 5 tackles this year or whatever the stat is. It's like, you know, overall some stats can be inflated, some stats can make the story look a little bit better in times, but when you put the eye test together with stats, that's when you start to round out your story a little bit better.
100% right, brother. And a prime example is Penrith and the way they went after Aden in Vegas. You know, Aden's a great front rower, but again, the little blimp in his game got exposed. So it happens.
And my last little example for this, bro, is like any NBA fans out there, James Harden, right? You know, incredible attacking basketball player, can get points from any point of the field, loves the foul, all that sort of stuff. Never has been a great defender. But whenever you bring that up to a James Harden fan, what's the first thing they bring up? The steal stat. Well, he gets all these steals, right? But like a steal is like, you can do a steal for multiple different things on a third man and stuff like that in basketball that elevate those stats. Doesn't mean you're a good defender. Can you stay in front of someone? Can you get to the point earlier? Can you do all these little things that aren't on the stat sheet? Steals are just one little part of the stat sheet. And I'm not calling Terrell May a stat sheet filler if people want to call it that way. It's just more calling out some of the things that people don't see on a stat sheet. You see it out in a football field.
That's prime example, brother. Prime example.
Yeah. Exactly. So I hope you guys understand that sort of point and all that. I know it's definitely a contentious one. As I said before, me and Brody had him in there. I think he's been playing good enough footy to get himself into around a squad, all that sort of stuff. And maybe there is a little bit more than just what we said before. But that's kind of what I'm just kind of reading into it, being like, hey guys, like don't go too crazy just yet, because maybe there is a little bit more to it. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But is that enough with the New South Wales squad, bro? Is there any other snubs that you kind of looked at and was like, oh, maybe they should have been around a squad? Or, you know, how are you feeling? Like Tommy Turbo not being there, but he hasn't looked himself lately.
Now, look, I think it's pretty bang on. I think Andrew Johns is back on the gear to leave out Stephen Crichton for Tom Trbojevic. That's absolutely fucking madness. Other than that, top to bottom, kind of what we predicted. Like, I understand Pappy, you know, is the informed fullback, but why change what did work last year? Like, I don't see the stress of that. You know, Dylan Edwards is still fit. He's built for Origin. It's an Origin type of game, the way that he plays. I dare say we'll see Pappy get his crack soon enough. And other than that, yeah, it's top to bottom as we kind of predicted. A couple of injury worries there, but we won't dive too much into those until probably next week's show, where we start to actually line up who's in, who's not. But yeah, I think both these teams will play top to bottom, as are.
Yeah, I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head on both these squads. Well, close to them. We'll touch on the Maroons a little bit, but more so the Blues squad, top to bottom. It's a tough squad. Like, it's a good squad overall. And, like, I'm sure Blues fans are feeling confident coming down to Suncorp overall. And, just seeing that man in the middle, Mitch Barnett, shout out to Mitch Barnett again, getting starting front row spot. He
deserves the pro.
Well deserved. Moving over to my Queensland Maroons, my brother. The big notable miss in this one, Corey Horsburgh. No Corey Horsburgh. I think both of us had Corey. I think he's been playing good enough footy to get there. Probably a very similar sort of aspect to what Terrell May's dealing with, maybe. Maybe there's a little part of the game that Billy's just saying, look, work on it a little bit. Very similar to why, remember Dave Fafita got snubbed last year. But your thoughts overall on the squad in general, top to bottom, any other snubs you can point out, and maybe touch on Big Red a little bit.
No, I think it's pretty up there, top to bottom. I'm curious to know if Gilbert was fit, if it was Fermor or Liero that got left out. I have a feeling it might have been Fermor, in all honesty, because Gilbert could play that edge and the middle. And if you talk about, defensive lapses, I think Beau Fermor has a lot of defensive lapses in his game. A lot of other parts of his game are outstanding. And I think you're right. I think that's maybe why Horsburgh did get kind of left out as well, was that sort of defensive pattern sometimes that he has in his game, where he can get caught laterally, not moving the best. But other than that, pretty stock standard top to bottom, as predicted. Mo gets the start. I was a little bit shocked about that. But Maxi Platt doesn't fit, so obviously he's not going to get that 13 spot like we predicted, and have Tino and Paddy up front. But I did think that both of them would start instead of Cotter, and Carrigan would have pushed up front with Tino, and Cotter might have been in that lock role. But yeah, shout out to Mo getting the start, and looks like Cotter's going to do a job on the edge, and then obviously we'll see Beau Fermor roll into the game, and then Cotter probably move to lock, and Paddy up front. That's how I see that anyway. But yeah, your thoughts, brother? You liking your team? Obviously Robert Toyer we haven't touched on yet, but you loving the look of this team here?
Yeah, very. Obviously, a lot of these names we brought up before in around the squad that we thought were going to be around about the squad, right? I think that coming game day, there might be a quick little change of Lindsay Collins to start the game and bring Mo off the bench, because I think Mo's probably a little bit better as an impact forward off the bench in Origin for me in general, because he's a real power packet, runs hard usually. I know the Titans use him as a starting front rower, and sometimes he can be hit and miss at times. I think if we get limited minutes out, I know Lindsay Collins coming back off of injury, and maybe that's a bit tougher of him to get out those early minutes. But for me, I think Lindsay can withstand probably that early barrage, and then we'll try and fight fire for fire a little bit with Mo Fodawaker and Spencer Leniu, because that's the only other guy I can see on this bench be like, hey, get out there, other than maybe Trent Liero, who kind of has a bit of a firebrand to him, because that's probably going to be the big sore point for me, and we'll touch more about that next week. But quickly, Robert Toyer, the debutant. I'm obviously very surprised due to a couple of injuries in that. Obviously now Selwyn Cobbo is due to play for the Broncos by the start of it next weekend, due to getting cleared with that wrist injury. But, the next man up by the looks of it is Robert Toyer. No Dan Gagai. They didn't go down that track. No Jackson Purdue, who I probably gave a smoky shout to. But Robert Toyer, again, talking about stats, everyone will bring up the stats of he's one of the better defensive centers in the game. I won't really touch on the stats side of things with that, but his job against Latrell, their first time in South Sydney, probably gave him a little bit more of a look here. But people also got to understand that's South Sydney Latrell. Like state of origin Latrell's on a different level. So your thoughts there, because I know that's going to be the point that the Blues are going to be attacking.
Yeah, well, that's also Latrell that was just back off. What was it, a suspension injury? What was he out with?
Yeah.
And he played center and then got moved to 5'8". So it's a Latrell that doesn't really count. You got a different beast here now that's got a few games under his belt. He's going to tear up that left edge. But yeah, shout out to Robert Toyer, well deserved. I like the shout there of moving Holmes to the wing to put Toyer in. I don't think the Arthurs is quite there. Like, he's great attack wise, great finisher. But coming out of the back end, I feel like he would struggle. I think Toyer, great body, great defensive movements,
Yep.
Put him in the centers. I love the home shout on the wing as well.
I do too.
I think at Origin level, I think he can't do the job at center as well as he used to. And I always think he has played his best on the wing for Queensland. But yeah, interesting if they're going to go with Toya and Holmes together on that right edge, because they've obviously named Hammer and Holmes together.
Yeah, no, so yeah, but what I'm expecting, because Xavier can play on both sides, but his preferred side these days at Melbourne's on that left side. Val usually preferably on that left side, but we've seen him pop up on the right side in Origin as well from memory. So I'm curious to see on day. I know Robert Toya should be on that right edge because that's the only side I've seen Robert Toya play, even coming through the juniors. And Miso loves to play on that left edge in Origin time. So very curious to see which winger goes on which side of things. I'm expecting Xavier Coates on Zach Lomax's side to really negate the aerial threat. Yeah. And then having Valentine Holmes versus Brian Toto on that edge, which, again, I just think you guys are going to be giving early ball to Latrell Mitchell and just saying, hey, here we go. Straight down the edge with Valentine Holmes and Robert Toya.
If you were smart, you'd I don't know, maybe have Coates defend on Lomax and then switch to attack on Toto. But is that too much? Like, would that be too much fucking around? But like, for me, that's a great option.
Well, maybe like we saw the Sharkies over the weekend, when Ronaldo had to switch sides because of the aerial threat of Atkinson. Could there be the ability of Billy doing something very similar to negate Zach Lomax's high ball threat?
Yeah, like I definitely think they'll start on each other, Lomax and Coates. But, if you're the Blues or if you're Queensland, you'd take the chance on saying, fuck, Lomax, go to the other side for a kick chase. Let's test you on Holmes. So that'd be interesting. That's what I'd be doing as a coach. Like, just in the middle of a play, just subtly swap them over.
Hey, bro, like that's why I continue to point out, like I pointed out in my little TikTok shorts and stuff like that, guys. Like, I'm so excited to see that aerial battle. Like, people don't understand. Like, these are two of the best aerial threats that we have in a competition. And the way Zach Lomax chases kicks, and the way that Xavier Coates can get up in the air, and both of them can get up in the air pretty high. Like, I'm sure that's going to be a battle at least one point in this game. I'm sure Mitchell Moses will put a kick in that corner, and Nathan Cleary, and then it will be just a chase for, to see that athleticism come over the top. I can't wait to see that battle.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And it sucks because the pressure is always on the defender. So whoever is attacking gets the better leap. But nonetheless, I want to see how they guys deal with it.
Yeah, 100%. But anything more you want to touch on with the Origin squad? I pretty much agree with you with the big red sentiment is like maybe there's a couple of deficiencies in this game that we're just not seeing at the moment. Very similar to whatever's happening with Terrell May. Very similar to what happened with Dave Fafita. This has happened multiple times in Origin, right? There's going to be guys that are going to get left out that do look like they're just certainties. But anything more? Any big misses that you noticed from the Maroon squad in general, other than Maxi Plath players that are out with injury?
Yeah, just it's pretty stock standard. It's up there, and that's the thing, guys that are individually killing it, and sometimes they won't get the nod over a more system player that goes about their work unnoticed.
Agreed.
Sometimes that's more important, especially in a game like Origin. It's different. You don't need a guy throwing 10 offloads a game. You don't need a guy breaking tackles. You just need a guy that hits the line, quick play the ball, gets up, because it's all about the pace of the game, right? And catching the team out. And I think that's kind of where they're at. With a couple of these selections, and that's going to happen for the next 20 years in Origin. It's just going to continue to happen. It's just how it is. Sometimes system is a lot better to go than just inform.
Yeah, and we won't really touch on the Terrell May situation after it because I think that's been put to bed now. He's come out and said he apologized for the way he acted on the stream. And, people, when they get emotional, it just happens, right? Like, if I was a Maroons fan, I wouldn't hold against him. I know the sentiment around, like, I've seen it everywhere. I'm sure Blues fans absolutely hate it. But when people bring up, like, well, Maroons, like, Queenslanders would never do that. Like, I'm sure there would be sometime that a Maroon would have done that. But, like, again, like, these are human beings at the end of the day. He's streaming, stuff happens. He's obviously wanting to be in Origin. It probably shows how much he cares about being in that Blues jersey to start off with, that it hurt him that much.
100%. And that's the way you can look at it.
Yeah, exactly right, bro. Exactly right.
We're allowed to have feelings as well. Like,
yeah. Why can't we have feelings, man?
It's ridiculous. Kind of fun, kind of feelings. I know that players should just put down the phones and stay off social media, but leading into that, obviously, Reece Walsh. We'll touch on that. But
bro,
let guys have some fun. Like, I understand, but they are human too.
Bro, and I was just about to say, I was just about to say, watch this segue, brother, because this segue is going to be crazy. You know, the Queensland Maroons fullback, ex-fullback, and Broncos fullback, you know, Reece Walsh, talk about being on social media and being done for something in social media. The Broncos are just feeling it left, right, and center. Reece Walsh, you know, getting shunned by the Broncos for the TikTok of him punching a mate of his, maybe after a little bit of the grog, who knows? Is this a nothing story that we're just trying to make something because of what's the Broncos are going through right now?
It's a nothing story. You know, if he's a no one, or if he's playing Q Cup or anything like that, it does not matter. You know, you just had a bit of fun with your mate. You know, you're not even going to get charged by the cops because obviously your mate's going to be like, nah, we're fucking around. We wanted to do it. You know, but I get it from the side that these guys are role models. Kids are on social media more than anything these days. And I guarantee the next little 13-year-old party that happens, they're going to go, oh, let's put a boxing glove on and punch each other. And something serious could happen from it, you know, like a serious injury could happen from it. And that's the way the NRL is treating it. And that's fine. I get it, you know, especially someone like Reece Walsh, who is a big character to kids in the game. Yep. But at the end of the day, they are footballers. You know, it's silly. It's harmless. They're not the smartest, you know, they're probably doing a lot worse behind closed doors. They're just smart enough to keep that behind closed doors most of the time. Yep. But I don't know. I do get it in a way, like be better. It's your paid job to please the public and be a role model for the public. You know, that's what you are paid for. So I get it from that side, but it doesn't need to be that big. It doesn't need to be that deep.
Nah, I agree, bro. And, you know, obviously it's got to be a little bit of a slap of the wrist and be like, oh, Reece, you know, all that. But I think the other news that we're going around is just around the situation of what happened with Muddy Tapau. And obviously liking the social media post with Elijah Taylor, that shouldn't be enough to get sacked out of your club. But I'm sure there's probably a little bit more that happened underlying with all that situation. They obviously wanted to push Muddy Tapau out of the club and wanted 100%. To find a way to do it. They found a way to do it. When that's all going on around the club, I think that's where Reece's probably got to click in the gear and be like, it's probably not the best time to start putting up TikToks of me punching my mate in the face.
Exactly. And, you know, Gordy brought up a good point on that is, you know, when Cobbo talks shit about Madge, he didn't get sacked.
Yeah, exactly.
So, standards, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just be smarter, boys, around social media and that, and just understand how it looks.
Stay off it. Like, I get it. You're a normal human as well, but at the end of the day, you're not. You know, you're paid to be idolized. So be smarter.
Just be smarter. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. Talking about more news going around the league at the moment, bro. Lockie Galvin apparently looking to move on early. We've discussed a little bit this, you know, obviously at work, just discussing passing by and that, but very curious to see how this works out because I understand it from the Tigers' point of view. Latu Fainu comes back off the injury in a couple of weeks' time. So he will be the future of the club with the 6 jersey. So they want to obviously move on Lockie Galvin to, you know, obviously allow this kid to have time to build into that jersey, which I'm envisioning was the reason why they want to do that. They want to get money to chase in the market. But the teams that have been thrown up with, they've got 6s right now. They've got 7s right now. And the teams that could be doing trades with those guys to get people out, they don't have money to do so. So what does Lockie Galvin do? Where does he go? What is happening? Parramatta, Bulldogs? Is there a smoky side? Like, what's your thoughts here?
I think they're probably just not going to get an offer the more I think about it. And he's just going to have to play out the year until next year when he will more than likely go to Parramatta.
Yep.
Because I don't see a club, you're right, that would want to give up a player right now that the Tigers will accept, and a club that will want to pay him out for, what have we got, another 15 games? Like, there's no real reason in that. And the only team that would be interested in something like that is Parramatta, just to get him early, but they don't have the money for him.
Agreed. And that's why I was like, I was very, very curious to see how this plays out, because the only way I could ever see this playing out is if Newcastle somehow found a way to find money to get Dylan Brown early out of the contract and the Eels to pick him up early to fill in that 6 jersey there. There's a lot of moving pieces to happen there. And obviously it's been discussed about the Dominic Young situation where they wanted the Roosters to pay out the decent sum of Dominic Young's contracts so they don't pay, you know, the back end of that. Like, I'm sure they're going to be paying a lot more money to get Dylan Brown over too.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see how it's a good move for him to go anywhere. I don't think he will go anywhere. The only club that I know will have a bit of cash behind him is the Doggies that, you know, moved on Ryan Sutton and got a bit of cash sitting there from that. But I don't see where we play him, why we play him, what we do there, why we make one of our guys miss out, why we trade one of our guys away for a year. You know, we're really big on systems right now. I don't think they bring somebody in that will mess it. Oh, I hope, this is my heart speaking, but
yeah,
I hope Gould wouldn't do that. So yeah, we'll see.
Wait and see. Definitely an emerging story, guys. So continue to look out on your social media networks and stuff to see what's going on here. But as we said, we honestly don't understand, because there could be a lot of underlying things, a lot of things that could happen in the background to make this move happen. But at the moment, from what we see, we don't see this move being able to happen due to a lot of things going on. So
have you guys got a bit of cash? Because I just seen Jacko shout there, send a Smare.
I think we're in the same boat as you, bro. Like
Walker leave.
We do have a lot of cash, right? Like we do have a lot of cash, but I want to be in the same boat as you of like, you know, the guys that we have there now are doing a great job. They're feeling a system, you know, and we've got like Jet Clearys and younger halves in the club too that want to be pushing for those roles, even if Tamani Martin or Tanner Boyd were to leave. So for me, yeah, I wouldn't have a throw at him. And to be honest, I don't think Lockie Galvin would even look at going to New Zealand, in my opinion. I think he's an Aussie boy and just would love to stay in Australia and play for Parramatta when the chance comes.
Yeah, 100%. Parramatta just need to find a way to get it done. But speaking out loud, you guys don't need
may as well.
Galvin. I agree, Jacko. But just the rumours around Tanner Boyd potentially coming back to Australia next year anyway. Yeah, the straight swap could be on the cards. But I don't see how it works out for Galvin or you guys. So.
Yeah, either that or, you know, Tanner Boyd might become the first halfback of the Perth Bears. Who knows?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, have to wait and see.
I don't know. We'll see.
Touching on one of those clubs that will be maybe moving some pieces to fulfill another club's way of getting Lockie Galvin. The Newcastle Knights they first of all were looking at moving on Adam O'Brien due to the start of the season that they've been having. But right now, apparently not going to sack Adam O'Brien due to obviously a $2 million payout of his contract, bro. Your thoughts on this situation? Do you think he's definitely the next one on the chopping block? How long will it take before that sort of changes? And more discuss of like, how did Newcastle find themselves in these predicaments all the time where a $2 million payout for a guy that, you know,
I don't know why they signed him on a big contract to begin with. In all honesty, I know he's made the finals the last couple of years, but with the team that you somewhat see on paper, like you should be making that 8 spot.
100%.
And this year they've just kind of gone to mud. And I know they've had a little bit of injuries, but not a lot. I know they get their man next year in Dylan Brown, but for me, I'd probably be paying it out. I don't think a coach does. Like a coach does have a big influence, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a lot more than the coach that the Knights have a problem with right now. I don't think he helps at all. I would be trying to find a way to move him on. So I wouldn't want him coaching this year and next year if it was me or my club. But what do you do when they've got that cause? You know, you pay that money out for nothing. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a Knights fan. Andrew Johns needs to put his money where his mouth is and step up to a coaching role.
Yeah, maybe jump in, like, you know, take over Newcastle. He's got all the ideas going on there, but Newcastle always seem to find themselves in these situations at the moment, you know, around the contracts. You know, obviously bringing Dylan Brown over to the club, that was probably just hoping maybe that will give another added piece for Adam O'Brien to build with this club. But just the way this club's going at the moment, it's really tough to see the future under Adam O'Brien as well. And as you said, there's not just Adam O'Brien. There's a lot of other little underlying pieces going 100%. On at the club, like Jackson Hastings, whatever's going on in that situation. Yeah. Like, he's your best halfback at the club. They won't even play him. And not to say he'll change everything about the club, but he did take your club to a top 8 finish in 2023.
100%. Like, so you play him over the form that unfortunately Cogger is in and Tyson Gamble's in. You'd be playing Hastings. It makes zero sense to not be playing Jackson Hastings right now.
Yeah, it might be a situation where Adam O'Brien, it's either save your job and play Jackson Hastings, or unfortunately keep biting the bullet and keep doing your Haas merry-go-round and lose your job.
Look at Benji. You know, he just sucked it up and played Galvin, and you know they haven't been going too good the last 2 weeks, but they looked a lot worse without him.
Yeah, and they got to watch out how this plays out because, you know, as Jacko's put up in the chat as well, Ponga doesn't look happy. His game by a fair distance, especially from what it was in a multi game, like he was incredible in that multi All-Stars game. It looked like he was going to be set for an incredible year. Started the season with a bang. Just over the season's come off, you can see the frustration on his face, even in press conferences, bro. Like you're seeing like little TikToks everywhere, him rolling his eyes after certain things that Adam O'Brien's saying and stuff. It doesn't look like a happy camp right now, and they have the risk of maybe losing him at the end of his tenure there at the Newcastle Knights. And I heard rumors over certain things like that too, but those went quiet. But maybe this can kickstart more rumors later on.
Oh, 100%. And, he's probably holding out for Dylan Brown next year, but I guarantee both of those guys together aren't going to like Dylan O'Brien coaching. So, moving on. The Knights are depressing me even talking about them. So let's move on.
No, let's move on. And lastly, bro, before we get through the team of the week, let's touch on a side that I believe that's like start the season, they weren't as great, but they're starting to really find their form a little bit. The Cronulla Sharks, 31 points to 26 over the Melbourne Storm. One of their better victories this year, probably their best victory this year due to the club that they went up against. Harry Grant's first game back from injury. Bro, your thoughts on their performances at the moment and, how they're building, especially for an Origin period where they're kind of hitting that on the run with a squad that doesn't get affected by Origin?
Yeah. No impact by Origin this year is a great shout for the Sharks. They're going to slide under that radar that little bit more, but a really good, solid performance on the weekend. Still a lot of holes in their game. Don't get me wrong, but they had a lot of controversy that went against them as well. They had to overcome a lot with Jesse Raymond's eye poke and Sam Street's broken ankle. And to hold on against a team like the Melbourne Storm with that controversy, pretty great effort. Can't fault that. But it felt like one of those games, where the Sharks did want to turn up and they were on one. But next week we could see them come out and struggle against the Roosters team. It's just sort of how they still are at the moment. And I want to see them put it together consistently.
Well, we're looking at a club right now that is the 5th best attacking side in the competition, points per game, right? So start the season. And they are the 2nd best defensive side in the competition, points per game wise. So they are finding their feet now, and at the perfect time, as kind of discussed, through the Origin period, there is still little holes in their games where they do feel like sometimes they just go through the slump of just looking uninterested in games. And then they got to click back into gear, right? I think the Tigers, hit on them in those moments as well when they versed the Tigers in that period. You guys dominated them through that whole period against that game there too. So it's good to see them getting back into form because a lot of people had high hopes for the side to start the season. Adam Fanor-Blake had an incredible game over the weekend, but, Adam can't be just producing 250 meters per game, a try every game out there. It needs to be consistent week in, week out, which he's starting to. But, Cronulla, if they start kicking the gear now, it's the perfect time around this Origin period to pick up those big wins.
I think Iro is a big part of their success coming back from that injury. He's great. He's outstanding. He brings energy to Mulatalo as well. Because if he's not interested, that dude is horrible. He's either rocks or diamonds, literally. And I think a lot of Cronulla's problem is there are a lot of momentum players. Nico Hines, Trindle. And Mulatalo, if they don't want to play, if people get in their face, they start whinging, looking for an easy way out. They don't want to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go after it or play from behind. Like, it's just kind of what you see when you look at the Sharks still a little bit. And
agreed.
They needed somebody like Iro to come back who is always energy. You don't want to let that guy down. Ads is always doing his part, but it takes a lot. They're very a momentum team at the moment, the way I see them. So we'll see if they can keep it together. If they come out and really blow the Roosters off the park like they should this weekend, I will start to have a little bit more faith in them.
Agreed, bro. Very, very curious to see how this plays out during the Origin period. As I said, they look like probably going to be one of the strongest teams around the Origin time. They don't miss too many big buy periods either. Them and the Raiders, would you reckon?
Yeah, them Raiders, they play a lot of their games through the Origin period while they're not really impacted. So that's pretty good for them to pick off some of the easier teams at their weakest. Some of the teams while they're at their weakest, not easier teams. And then get their buys a bit later in the year and stuff like that and be more refreshed towards finals time. So, they'll be tough to beat through this period, those two teams.
All right, we're saying that, bro. Let's move over to our team of the week.
Yeah,
All
bro.
right. Starting off at full back, my brother. I think this one, you could have gone a couple of different ways for me in this one, but who'd you go for fullback?
I went with KO Weeks.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Big performance there. Speed, bro. Speed.
Yeah, he's really finding himself and how he needs to be for the Raiders.
Yeah, agreed, bro. Agreed. I went Clint Gutherson.
King Gutho back.
He's back, bro. Bring out the Gufferino again. Great performance against the Brisbane Broncos, in a key period where they went down to 12 men and scoring in that period there too. Just a leader out there. And it's good to see him get his hands on the ball a little bit more again with the Dragons in good shape. They went away from that for a little period there too. So,
yeah, I think the young 5'8" has really helped that.
Yeah, shout out to King Tongia as well. Moving to the wings, bro. Who'd you have on your wings?
I went with Lomax in his comeback game. Absolutely outstanding. Showed his fitness straight away. He must have worked really hard. I thought he was blowing early, but he's still strung together a really nice game. And I went with Ronaldo. I know he's can be a hit and miss guy, but he had one of his on games on the weekend.
Yeah, he was incredible on the weekend. I went Zach Lomax as well. I thought he was really, really solid over the weekend. And I went Xavier Savage. I thought that with that Raiders side, him, KO Weeks, the way they get together. When they're on, they are a very scary, quick side. But when they're off, they're rocks and diamonds players too.
100% they are, brother. They really are.
So they gave you diamonds on the weekend. Let's hope they give you rocks this weekend coming, eh?
Well, you hope that, brother.
I do hope that. Moving over to the centers, bro, who we got?
I went with Campbell Graham, bro. I know, you look at the stats. He doesn't really probably had the biggest game, but you watch that game and the amount of work he put through, that he had that call already for Origin before that game because he looked on one. And I went with Tim McCall, so that shouts out, your Savage shout there. I thought Tim McCall inside of him was really, really good.
Was unreal too. Yeah, 100%, bro. I went Sifa Talakai. Shout out to Sif, filling in. That flick pass was just audacious.
Unreal, bro. Unreal. For a guy that now only solely plays front row, that's crazy.
Bro, just crazy. The hands on him, even that little tip on that he had, bro. Like, I thought he had one of his better performances again. And Kurt Capewell, I had to shout out one of our boys over the weekend. I thought that, bro, he deserves, like, defensively, man, all his cover tackles, finding his way on the opposite end of the field. His contact has just taken a new level too lately. Like, he's just putting wax on left, right, and center. Shout out Herbie Palmer.
Yeah, that's my tackle of the week. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, we'll get to mine a little bit later. But, bro, yeah, 100%. Shout out to Herbie. That was a good little battle there on the edge, and I thought Cody Capewell did his job.
100%, brother.
Moving over to 6 and 7, bro, who we have?
I went with two of our boys, brother. I went with Birdo and I went with Metcalf. And I went with Birdo because he pulled out a Birdo bomb.
That's what we wanted to see. That's all we want to see.
100%. I want to watch one live and the motherfucker never does it. But here we are. He put one up.
Oh, bro, I love to see it. And it came off for him too. So, shout out to Matty.
Other than that, he played really well. I'm really liking his running game at the moment. He's playing with a lot of confidence. But yeah, I just thought there wasn't a lot of other great 5'8" performances for me. Anyway, I didn't watch a lot of footy over the weekend. Like I did, but I didn't. And then Lukey Metz, yeah, shout out to him. Great performance again, leading the Daily M.
Yeah, 100%. And like just noticing his chat and his playmaking ability live is so good to see. Like it makes 100%. Me feel comfortable. So I had Luke Metcalf as well. My 6 was Ezra Mam. I thought, obviously, all the stuff he's done back in that 6 jersey. Probably did deserve a little bit further out, right? But when he was in that 6 jersey, I know the forward pass is a bit of contentious, but he was looking like, other than Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan, just another guy of added spark, and everyone else just wasn't really following him. So I thought he had a pretty decent performance over the weekend.
Yeah, shout out. You're right. I didn't think of him.
Yeah. Moving over to the front row pairing.
I couldn't split these 4 guys. So the 2 guys I've got in here, and then there's 2 guys with honorable mentions. Other than that, it was a far stretch between the rest of them. So I went with Maxi King and I went with AFB.
Agreed.
But I also had Terrell May and Keon there as backups.
I went Adam Fanor-Blake and Keon Golomatangi, but my honorable mentions would have been Max King and also Terrell May as well. Terrell got really, really close as well. But yeah, I thought that Keon's performance in a winning team was incredible, and Adam's like performance. I thought he was one of the big standouts.
Unreal. Yeah, he really went after that game, and he loves the tough competition of the Melbourne Storms, and he goes after those big games. But yeah, Max King, I just shout out. We had the controversy of Safita going down,
Yep.
and then him having to put his cape on there, I guess, and play the bit bigger of minutes and be that dominant forward there, and he did a good job for us to come back. And that Roosters pack isn't small, bro.
No, it's not. It's a great pack, and I thought Max King just took it after that. Spencer Leniu here just goes, all right, I got to pick it all up and do it all over again, and he just kept going. 100%. So that's what we love to see out of our front rollers. Moving to number 9, who's going to direct the boys around?
I had Blake Brayley until that Sunday game, and then I couldn't go past Appy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. I got Api Coruscant. Again, big honourable mention for Blake Brayley. I think Blake Brayley, as an overall hooker performance, was absolutely incredible. Like, he was in control of the game. He was pulling all the right strings. But Api Coruscant is a game breaker. Like, man, the speed, the footwork he did against Latrell, oh my God.
And that's probably after 30 tackles already, I know. Freakish performance from him. Unreal,
man. Unreal. Moving over to edge back rollers of the week.
Bro, Hudson Young, again, another killer performance. The dude's just on one this year. And I went Ben Trbojevic.
Bro, exactly the same from me, bro. Hudson's been probably the best edge back rower in form this season. And Ben Trbojevic, shout out to him. He's been slowly just building on his game, and he's finally getting some really good moments in, a great little performance there up at, Townsville. So shout out to Ben Trbojevic.
Yeah, it's hard for him to get the raps, with old big mate on the other edge there. But he just does his job subtly.
100%. And 13 of the week, bro.
I went Bailey Hayward, brother.
Oh, let's go. I took off my rosy-colored glasses. And again, I just saw a lot of people had Aaron Clark, but I thought Bailey Hayward as well. I thought that he was real vital in the middle, and especially getting your guys back on the front foot. A beautiful try that he scored over the weekend too. So shout out to Bailey Hayward.
I don't think he scored, did he?
Didn't he have the step back in on Lindsay Collins? No, he didn't score off that play, did he?
He set up kick out, big fella.
He set up kick out for that try. Yeah, sorry. I'm fucking mismeasuring that. But
that's all good. But like, the line speed of him, man, impressed me, especially when it was Spencer, charging at him, and he was the first guy there to try and take on Spence. Like, just things like that, man, that just makes you so happy that dude's in your team.
100%, bro. Shout out to Bailey Hayward, well deserved. Again, massive shout out to Aaron Clark, continuing to do it week in, week out as well. Bailey Hayward, he's been right up there as well. So big shout out to him. Moving over, you already said about your hit of the week, Curdy Capes on Herbie Farnworth. There's a couple of nice shots in that game, actually. Kurt Donahue had a really nice shot on Shannara Savita to cause a fumble and all that. But my hit of the week is not so much a hit of the week. Spencer Leniu running it straight into Saluka Fafita. That's a hit of the week.
Hitting his shoulder and hitting the ground.
Oh my God, bro. Shout out to Spencer Leniu getting it done on the attacking side of things. That's the way I went about business. Try of the week, is it just enough said here?
Oh yeah, it's enough said, bro. Like, I flirted with the idea of changing to Coatsy with that massive leap, but I couldn't go past Marky Mark with the hip hop step.
Oh, bro. Some of the try scoring over the weekend has been incredible. Like, the skills of all the players out there over the weekend, just hectic.
It is, bro, and it's just building and building and building. Like, it's just, what are we going to be in 20 years? Like, what are the players going to be able to pull off?
Bro, craziness. Moving over to player of the week. I found this tough. I found this really tough.
I didn't highlight one. So
I didn't highlight one until just before. I was sitting there going through all the names there and thinking, like, who had the better game out of everyone? I went Adam Fanua-Blake against the Melbourne Storm just due to competition. Like, big game, stood up, and he was the big leader in the middle. Blake Brayley had a lot to do with that as well, but I thought Adam was incredible.
Yeah.
But I found it tough as well.
Thinking of my list, I'm gonna go with Hudson Young. Really, really dominant performance again. Another try from him. Just great this year. Like, and I hate to admit it. I was a Hudson Young hater.
Oh, bro, yeah, he's stood up this year. He's matured so much too. I believe that.
He has.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Keon could have thrown up a really good shout as well because, like, the stats that he threw up in that game was just mental.
Yeah. I didn't have him on my team of the week properly, so I didn't want to say him.
Yeah, 100%. But also now moving over, who's our egg of the week, brother?
Ooh, I didn't really have one. I did go Laurie Daly for leaving out May after the game that he pulled off, like, defensive issues, and then he made 64 with 0 miss.
I know, yeah.
So I kind of went that. But now I'm gonna go Reece Walsh for being a dumb fuck on social media.
Shout out to Reece winning our egg of the week there for Brody. For me, bro, I'm going the referee in that Warriors Dolphins game with the RTS knock-on call. He's got a holiday.
Not that it matters. There's only 5 games this week. He probably would have got left out anyway. But fuck, come on, bro. Like, they're standing touchies down as well. What the fuck are they watching?
Oh, bro. It's a combination of a whole lot of things. But if that's what you got to do to get a holiday, fuck, I might start calling knock-ons at work, bro. Not calling knock-ons at work.
Yeah, not calling knock-ons, brother.
Oh, bro. All right. Let's quickly jump over to the weekend, bro. Get our thoughts of the upcoming weekend of footy. And then we'll jump over to our Supercoach show to finish off the show tonight, guys.
Talking points for Supercoach. So,
yeah. Not too many games to run through, bro. So let's just smash these ones out. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs versus the Dolphins at a core stadium, bro. We know you guys bring a great crowd there, but unfortunately, you're not bringing the whole crew, the whole team over.
Look at that out list, bro.
Hectic. Saluka Fafita out. Jacob Carraz out. Kurt Mann out. Max King out. Stephen Crichton out. Shout out to the Dolphins, Hamiso, Gilbert out, but that does not compare. And the Dolphins are still at $3.16 betting margin.
Yeah, if you like a value bet, by all means, jump on the Dolphins this week. I will not take offense.
100%.
But make sure you jump off at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for the comeback. But your thoughts overall in this game, bro? You still got some really good members there. Josh Curran coming back too, which is great to see. That helps just a tad. Jake Turpin finding himself on the bench. Sam Hughes, Curtis Morin, Luke Smith holding his spot there. Your thoughts on this game, bro? How are you going to get this done if you do get this done?
Yeah, if we get it done, we're just going to have to not leak a lot of points at all. Like, we're going to have to win this, I don't know, 10-0, 10-6. Like, it's going to be a tough grind. We're going to have to really rely on Birdo, Tracy, Sherry, and Kickow, I believe, because those boys we are missing is crazy, Shout out to Curran back. I'm sure he's going to be in for a big game. But yeah, look, I've said it the last 2 weeks. I think we're going to be missing too many troops. This week, I do think we'll see that loss come. I just think the Dolphins aren't missing half as important players as we are.
Agreed. I'm right there with you. I am going to back your boys just on the basis of that system, right? I think the value bet is the Dolphins over the weekend because more than when you got $3 thrown in front of you with the side of the Dogs that have that many outs, I can see the value in that for sure. I've just fallen in love with your system and how you guys plug and play. The Penrith Panthers was well known for this for that series, even with Origin outs. They just put people in their system and they just make it work. It may be an uphill battle. It may be one of those really, really close slogging games. But I think you can get a 1-12 victory in this one, a real close one, a 1-2 point victory. Just holding into the Dolphins, just grilling them. Defensively, your movements is a lot better than ours, in my opinion, at the moment. And the way we shut down on the Dolphins that had Hamiso, had Gilbert in their side, I think your boys can still hold up that end of the bargain, even though, you're missing on key members like Stephen Crichton.
Yeah, I love your thinking, brother. And I think we will give it a good crack as well. I don't think we get blown out of the water here, but yeah, there's a lot that has to go right here. And hopefully the boys just do rip in and take advantage of the shot that they've got.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. Moving over to the next game of that Friday night, we got the Parramatta Eels versus the Manly Seagulls at CommBank Stadium. Obvious outs for the Parramatta Eels. No Mitchell Moses and Zach Lomax due to Origin. No Daly Cherry Evans and no Jake Trebojevic for Manly due to Jakey with the HIA. Really unfortunate. Sad sights out there at Townsville. Hopefully Jakey's okay and takes a couple of weeks off. Your thoughts on this game, bro? Which way are you swaying? Both sides down on halfbacks, which are key members. What
Weird one for
Parramatta.
me. I've seen Volkman re-sign today for Parramatta, and they're not playing him this weekend. That's a real weird one.
Yeah, agreed.
But I'm going to go Manly in this one. I think Olakwatu is going to fucking rip and tear, and Turbo will come out firing as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think out of the two squads here, Manly, with Tom Trbojevic in there, I think Tommy will just take a bigger role to help out the spine there in the middle. And I think they're just going to have too much strike. And I expect that, obviously, Olakwatu, I think, is going to have a good field day. But I think also, attacking that other edge for, they're going to have Dean Hawkins
Kohler
on the edge with Burbo, Kohler. I think that's probably going to be their better edge as well, too. So,
yeah,
Manly
right.
Seagulls, 1-12, CommBank Stadium.
Yeah, I agree, brother. Spot on.
Sweet. Moving over to the Penrith Panthers versus the Newcastle Knights at Bathurst. These teams are, the Panthers are looking crazy. So we knew about this with the Penrith Panthers. Come Origin time, Brian To'o, Dylan Edwards, Isaiah Yeo, injuries to Isaiah Papali'i, Origin, Liam Martin, Luke Garner, Nathan Cleary is out as well. With the Newcastle Knights, no Jacob Saifidi, no Kalen Ponga. Your thoughts on this game?
I didn't know Pups is out as well. Isaiah Papali'i.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's tough, but I'm just going to go with Penrith solely on the system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar.
And the Knights form, terrible.
Yeah, the Knights struggling to score points. I know the Panthers are conceding a lot more points this year, but this system, I feel like their movements can just, continue to control the Knights. The Knights don't have Ponga. That's a key attacking piece. They have no Braden Best. That's another key attacking piece.
No Greg Marju.
No Greg Marju. It's going to be all on Dane Gagai there.
And Fletcher.
And Fletcher Sharp. Yeah, Sharp. I'm sure Fletcher will have a decent game out here, but I'm right there with you.
I think Fletcher Hunt, bro.
Oh my God. I'm going to go with the Penrith Panthers, 1-12. I still also, very similar to the other games, there is a tiny bit of value there with the Newcastle Knights. But yeah, I think the system will overrun Newcastle.
I think so too, brother.
Moving over to the Roosters versus the Sharkies at Gosford. In this one, the Roosters obviously missing a lot due to Origin as well. Angus Crichton, Connor Watson, Lindsay Collins, Nafahu White out of injury. Robert Toya and Spencer Leniu also got Origin duties. Moving with the Cronulla Sharks, only missing Sam Sotreat due to injury. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think the Sharks should get this one done, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Roosters are up for a dogfight in this one. Victor really loves games like this where, they're the dogs and he'll just come in and he'll fire. But yeah, I think the Sharks get this one done, and I reckon they might be able to push it out to a 13+.
Yeah, I'm riding with you here. I think it might be just a little bit too much for this Rooster squad that has been pulled apart. I agree with you. They'll probably be in for a dogfight, but I think this might push out a little bit later in the game with the Sharkies pushing this out to a 13+ margin. So I'm right there with you at Gosford. Usually a very slippery track though, so there is the ability for this to become a dogfight out there. But the Sharkies, if they are the real deal, they continue to be the real deal, they need to be putting the Roosters to bed here.
100%.
And a last game of the weekend, we got my New Zealand Warriors versus the Canberra Raiders over at Auckland. Obvious outs for us, guys. Eddie Iamira Toava is just a falling off of the extended reserves. James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Barnett both out. Obviously, James Fisher-Harris due to suspension. Mitch Barnett due to Origin duties. And with the Canberra Raiders, only one Origin duty as well, Hudson Young. A key little one to watch out for, we got Ali Leotoa sitting in the reserves too, so he may be a late push due to a fitness test for Kurt Capewell. Other than that, we're still running from top to bottom.
This is my game of the round, this one, even with the guys that are out. So this one's tough, bro.
It is very tough.
I'm gonna give your boys the nod here, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I think you guys are going to want revenge for Vegas. And you're back home for a long time for the first time in a long time. And I know you're missing some really key personnel, but I just think you're going to be hungry for this one. And I think you'll get it done in a really close contest. I'm going to say 1-6.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. I think that I'm going to put my rosy-colored glasses on. I'm going Warriors 1-6, but I can see this going so many different ways. Canberra coming in form as well. But I agree. We're bringing it back home. The blackout night. There's a lot going our way. I know we're missing big troops there, but we've been missing big troops for a long period. None bigger than Mitch Barnett and that for sure.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a good test for our boys to, strike back at the Raiders that definitely pipped us off to start the season and cause obviously the backlash of everyone saying that we're going to be one of the bottom sides in the competition, that we swung back in our favour. I would love to see Ali Latai get back into the side here somehow, because I know Kurt Cabell's been doing such a great job in that centre position, but I think it just frees up ourselves for a little bit more of a middle rotation with Martini Corday maybe going to the bench as a middle or starting as a middle. But we'll have to wait and see. Very tough game. Warriors 1-12, but there's good value there with the Canberra Raiders being $2.05.
Oh yeah, 100%, bro.
All right. Is that all you want to touch on with just our normal show, bro? Let's move over to Supercoach.
Yeah, 100%. Keen.
All right, let's go over to some Supercoach. We may as well touch on the players of the week before we jump over into our Supercoach sides for the weekend. So let's quickly move through it. RP Coruscant sitting up to the top of the competition there in round 11 for 144 points.
I didn't see that.
Joe? Neither. Oh my God, that's crazy. Ezra Mam sitting there 128. Xavier Savage 124. Terrell May 123. Shout out to the captains. Let's go, captain, my captain.
That's the one.
Moving over, Zach Lomax, 121. Xavier Coates, 117. Clint Gufferson, 117. KO Weeks, 106. Ben Trebojevic, 105. Galore Matungi, 104. And he'll become relevant very, very soon.
100%. Hey, just quickly jump on to Xavier Coates there. Literally probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, he was 400 something K, right?
Agreed. He was 400K around round 5.
So 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
That's insane. He's gone up 250. That's not as insane as I thought it was. But look at those scores. A couple of hundreds in there.
148, 131, 117. That's big boy stuff.
The low is low, though.
The low is low. Yeah. And this has always been a thing with Melbourne Storm wingers in Supercoach.
Other than Will Warbrick, he was very solid last year.
And actually, we're saying that I think Nick Meaney was actually pretty solid when he was on the wing.
Yeah.
Goal kicking.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't too bad.
Helped him, but I think Will Warbrick, just that right edge that Melbourne had last year, and the tries and the tackle bust. But yeah, moving on.
100%. Moving over to our league there, the Down Unders YT League, guys.
Look at
good
that
to
rank.
See me and Brody, we're moving, bro. Oh, bro, me and you, top of the Wise Up TV rank, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we are, but our comp's just a little bit harder by the looks of it.
Yeah, shout out to Eliminator and all that, continuing to hold us out. But sitting 7th there, my squad and your squad here, a lucky squad. Let's bring it up.
14.
Let's bring it up. So 1,381 for my boys, 1,274 for your boys. These are our differential players, bro. How'd you feel like you went over the weekend? Who was your lowest scorers? Who was your big ones?
Our lowest scorers, Scotty Drinkwater. Shout out to them doing the vice captain loop. And then, Pappy didn't fire. And other than that, everyone else was all right. I can't complain too much. Oh, Dylan Egan, I had, ACL. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Sad for that guy, man. He's starting to put together a really good season. But other than that, look, not too mad at my score in a slow week.
Yeah, agreed.
And you would be very happy with that score in a slow week?
For sure. I felt like, obviously Marky Mark carrying the weight there. No one going to need to say. And also Adam Fanor-Blake with that nice 100 score. Getting on him early has only just now been a good thing. I'm pretty sure the scores before that weren't anything crash.
That was a little dip, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think I got on him around the West Tigers game, went 85, went 45 against the Parramatta Eels, and I went, did I make the right move? Then he went 88 and 103, which is looking really, really nice. So
yeah, I think the Eels game was affected by that sin bin. I remember talking about it.
That's right. So Valentine Holmes, 86.
Bin, but like just somebody else.
The sin bin in the game. Yeah, exactly right. So good to see there. Shout out to all your boys at the top of the competition here. Eliminated Liam. Just continuing on doing what he's doing right now. He had Payne Haas as a captain over the weekend. Had Zach Hoskins, a good little pickup that he has there. Terrell May scoring very good points. He's just going to continue to be a tough guy to chase down, I reckon.
He just keeps making the same sort of moves as us as well. So we don't really have any point differential players. He picked up Lucas. We picked up Lucas. I picked up Hoskins. He's got Hoskins. So how's Jose going in the chat, bro? We'll shout out some of the guys that are in the chat.
Yeah, Jose, I'm looking for your side now. There we go. Chama. He went 1,205 over the weekend. He was sitting a little bit further down after the great start to the season, holding on to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck unless he got him back in over the weekend. Ruben Garrick, obviously good to hold around this Origin bye period. He captained Joseph Tarpanet, as he just said in the chat too.
Yeah, nice.
Well, he did have...
I'm doing garbage, bro. You're not doing too bad, my bro.
You're not doing too bad at all. Jamal Fogarty with the 73 as well.
Yeah, he's been solid as for you, bro, all year long.
I think I even poo-pooed this move of Jamal Fogarty, and he's been going gun.
We're like, oh, no, you got to go your Clearys and your Hines, and I think Fogarty's probably got more total points than them.
Look at that. 125 against the Dolphins, 54 against Melbourne, a little bit down, but Doggies 82, 73 against the Gold Coast Titans. That's good consistent scoring there.
What about Jazzy? Jazzy in this?
Let me try and find Jazzy.
You got Supercoach?
Yeah, Jazz. I'm pretty sure Jazz did.
Oh, Tarns isn't in here tonight. I just realised.
Yeah, shout out to Tarns.
The chat's a little quiet.
She actually might be doing her show with one of the boys from Warriors Fans TV, guys. If you are a fan of that channel, let us know if she's live right now. But she's doing great work there too. Obviously, great footy head, as we all know.
And shout out to Chris. He's probably still celebrating the Eels' first win, so he didn't show up either.
You just had to slide that one in there, didn't you?
I did. If we can't find Jazzy, we'll just go on to our trades for the week.
Yeah, Jazzy. I don't think I can find Jazzy unless he's Shout out to Jazz if you're not in Supercoach, let us know. But yeah, I was unable to find him there. If his name isn't Jazz, I haven't logged into Supercoach in about 6 weeks. So am I dead last? He might be. Yeah, we won't double check you there too, bro. But my trades for this week, Brody, my brother. So at the moment, this is a little bit of a controversial one. We've been talking about this, and there's still going to be time before I'm going to make some moves, and I will talk about that with you guys. But first of all, I went Dylan Egan out, and my my differential play, my pod play, I went Bronson Sherry. Good, consistent base stat scorer. Has slowly just continued to build, and I think during this bye period of Stephen Crichton being in Origin and that, I think the Doggies with Birdo, Critter, with Birdo, Kickow, that left edge is the most sturdy edge. It's been like that, so I feel like you're going to be attacking down that side for Bronson Sherry. So I just went a little bit of differential play there, and the last one, Payne Haas out due to obviously the Origin period, him carrying a niggle in Origin. I don't know how he's going to back up. How many minutes. Joseph Tarpanet comes in as well. So that's what I've got at the moment, and that could free up a little bit more cash if I do some couple more trades. I can maybe get James Tedesco in too. That's probably where my mindset is at.
Yeah, I like it, bro. I think that's smart. Yeah, it's not a risk in my opinion. Trading Haas out, he's not going to go up much more than that in price. If he does back up, he's going to have lower minutes where he might tank a little bit of cash, and you might actually be able to pick him back up cheaper. So there are obviously all options you've thought about with your trades through this Origin period, bro. What is your plan? Is your plan to try and obviously maximize the score you can this week, but are you wanting to make trades just to trade them back in next week, or are you just trying to move some other pieces that you would potentially move out anyway to cover you enough and finally set your team up for after the bye period? We still got 21 trades there, so
agreed. Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of different things. So my overall aim is to continue to build my overall squad by the end of the season for the run home. So I will be trying to end the season with Payne Haas and all that, which, I'll try and get back in. But I think Joseph Tarpanet, due to the niggly injury and that, can get me through this bye period. But with other trades that I'm envisioning is trying to get someone like a James Tedesco, that looking like a season-long hold to get me home. At the moment, Scotty Drinkwater doing a great job for me there, but I feel like he's going to be out soon after the Origin period. Caleb Ponga right now, he's going to be my move to James Tedesco very shortly. My centre wings is starting to sturdy up when Valentine Holmes and all that gets back. So I don't want to do too much moving to kind of strip away all my big players I wanted to keep for the season, but I also want to do a couple of moves that'll keep me afloat during the Origin period, so where I don't lose too many places while I go through this little run. Yeah.
I think you're on the right track here, brother.
Yeah, so the way I've run through this weekend too, guys, my fullbacks here, Scotty Drinkwater obviously can't play, neither can Ryan Papenhausen. Guys, also remember, is only your best 13 playing, but with doing that, make sure you reserve all your players that are playing. It will not take into account all the players that you haven't reserved. It's not an overall team and only the best 13 play, you still got to play a solid 18, and they'll pick from those 18 the best 13 of that 18. So guys, don't get caught up in all that. But it's the way I'm going. So players that are playing: Bronson Sherry, Isaac Tungo, Nwanga Tuase, Herbie Farnworth is my vice captain for this week. Your thoughts on that?
He's mine too, brother. So you stole that. No.
I had to. Just thinking of, like, if the Dolphins are going to tack down that edge, that if Blake Taff is going to be sitting on that edge from memory.
Yeah.
It may be one of those days, but then again, who knows? So he could go for a decent sized score there. At the moment, I've got the captaincy on Nico Hines.
Okay. With what you've got, brother, I think either Nico Hines or Ads is big keys to this.
And that was my other option.
Tarpany's also another option. So I would maybe lean towards one of your front rowers, but I'd see how you go, how you feel.
Yeah, so you obviously got Nico Hines against, the Sydney Roosters that have been stripped apart due to Origin. Adam Fanor Blake with that forward back being stripped apart a little bit for Origin as well, so he could damage in the middle.
Out.
Yep, Nafahu out. And then Joseph Tarpany against my Warriors that has been stripped apart through the middle as well. So there's a lot of juicy options that are throwing me for a little bit of a loop.
Ola is another one.
Ola Kawatu is another one. So I'm very happy that I've got the decision for multiple players that I can chuck them on. At the moment, I just went for Nico as in just the playmaker that has the ability to, put these guys through for try scoring moments and stuff and get those points that way. I feel like a safety net play would be for me, as you touched on, Adam Fanor Blake, because, he's going to get to at least that 70 to 80 range and I won't get worried too much. Nico Hines obviously has the ability to go for a 63 or a 60.
Exactly.
So
in a week where captaincy is crucial.
Yeah, it could definitely be the play to play out there. But that's the way I've lined up this weekend. My bro, Ola Kawatu, William Mikikau, Brenton Nikita, Dylan Lucas, if he plays, obviously, he should be playing. Vaimonga, Sanders Smith. Joseph Tarpany. So
shout out to Hiroti. You missed Hiroti down there as your bonus little pickup coming back from injury.
Shout out to Hiroti getting the winger spot there too. He's break even too, guys. 48 is the break even. And knowing Hiroti, how he started the season with us, 77, 73, 80 in a center position. Should be good to cover that.
Okay. Jose has got a question that you should answer because you flirted with the idea of Turbo. And I'll take care of his other question when we load up my team.
Yeah. So you meaning this one here, the Supercoach YT channel said buy Turbo. So I did. I flirted with this.
One down a bit. He did ask, what do you guys think about buying Turbo?
Yep, that's a better one. Yeah, what do you guys think about buying Turbo? The SE YouTube channel said to, and I listened. I flirted with this. This is one of my earlier moves for KP out for Tommy Trbojevic. The thing is with Tom Trbojevic, coming into this week, he's got a break even of 120 that he's got to cover, I'm pretty sure, at least that 115 mark.
Yep.
He has the ability to do so, right? But he also, after these last couple of weeks, has the ability to go well further off of that. More than likely, he may not hit that mark, so he will lose more cash, right? So if Tom Trbojevic comes in this week, scores an 80, loses cash, more than likely, I'll start looking at maybe bringing him in next week, depending on how he looks. At the moment, he's looking shot. Like, he just doesn't look like he's the same Tom Trbojevic. So I'm looking at more of the safety route of just watching him until I see him go and bang. And by that point, he shouldn't be too high of a cash to where I could just do a straight swap and get him in while he's running. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Don't jump too early on Tom Trbojevic because it can bite you in the ass. He could play for 10 minutes and do a hamstring, could do anything. And then you're gone for that trade for a guy that we all know, is probably going to be losing cash anyway.
Yeah, there's too much risk involved. And another point that Ash said to me at work was potential that if there's an injury to somebody else in the Origin squad and he's found some good form, by all means, he would probably get dragged into Origin as well. There goes your cover through Origin as well.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And we're saying that too. There's another question here that you probably is a great one to answer for. Mm-hmm. Should we hold Karaz or sell him to buy later? We're just about to get your team up very shortly, but we may as well touch on this while we can.
Yeah. So For me, Hosier, I really, really floated with the idea of not trading out Carraz and just holding him because the doggies have 2 buys in the 4 to 6 weeks that he's tipped to be out anyway. So I was going to just hold him. But I was lacking a solid enough 13 for my liking this week to the point where I made a couple of big moves by, moving Carraz on and Egan on and getting 2 solid pieces that for me could still potentially be season-long holders. And then depending on how Robert Toya comes back from Queensland, now that the price he's at, looking at using him to get myself back to Carraz once Carraz is all good and good to go. Still got Robert Toya and Tamale that I don't think are season-long holders quite yet. They're just kind of sitting there making me the cash, chipping away. Doing a great job points-wise as well, but they're the 100%. Type of guys I've been using to trade back to a Carraz, and then my team's kind of solid. So I've seen it beneficial for me, but I did flirt all day, all yesterday, Ash knows, with putting him in, not putting him in, trading him out, not trading him out. And I've gone with trading him out and then pick him back up at a later date.
Guys, you got to know the amount of work that Brodie's been putting into not just Supercoach but this show in general. In the behind the scenes, like he deserves like all the credit for this because he just at work he's always coming down with all this new idea, or he's got a spreadsheet of what's going on. He's got his buy round spreads. Like it's actually like incredible, and guys, like listen to it because it's really good. Like thoughts process into the whole period. Again, we're bouncing off each other. We may double back on certain things that we say at times and that. But like, it's great to see the amount of working out that he has to do and how to get himself through this buy period. And that's really what's causing him to have a great season as he has right now. In the top 6,000, I'm in the top 4,000 right now. And we're slowly continuing to creep up those ranks one step at a time with consistent Supercoach play, not chasing anything too high, too low, too early.
Yeah, it's all about weighing risk, reward, and not forgetting where you want your team to be towards the back end. Origin, you shouldn't strip your team apart to just get through these weeks because it's going to almost be impossible to get your players back. Shout out to Jazzy in the chat.
Shout out to Jazzy in the chat as well before we jump over. Do you fellas think if I get back into playing or learning Supercoach next week that I have a chance to do well, or did I take too long in the shit house? So overall, for fun and for learning, get back into it, bro. Like learn how to, strip your team apart, put it back together and try and make a good run for the end home. Maybe start looking at head-to-head scores with us every the week. If maybe, let's say I scored 1,300 this weekend, Brodie scored 12. See if you scored 14 and just look at it that way, that you're growing in that sort of sense, and come back next year a little bit stronger. Like don't feel like you have to chuck it out the window and you won't go well. From here, if you're chasing ranks or anything like that, it might be a little bit too late in that sort of sense of things. But for learning, bro, just keep playing, keep plugging.
Yeah, 100%. Get your head around it, brother. Get how everything works. Get the break-even shit down pat. How to make money, stuff like that on it. Like not real money, like money on players. And just jump back into it this year. You're still going to have all your boosts, so you do have a good chance at finishing pretty solid. But yeah, as soon as you have a couple of bad weeks in Supercoach, you can drop off the pace real quick. But by all means, DM myself, Ash, the channel. We could probably help you tomorrow before lockout on a lot of things. And you would have the 3 trades due to Origin, and you've still got all your boosts. So Ash could probably whip something up with 4 trades and get you going all right. And then from there, bro, just stick to it. Jump into the show. We'll happily give any pointers.
100%. But thank you so much for that comment, bro. Just keep cracking. As Tahi, you said here, just get back into it, Jazzy. It's practice for your first season. 100%.
100%. Next year, you'll be fucking on the show with us. You'll take my place.
Yeah. Oh, bro. Yeah, let's go. Jazzy, baby. We're going Ash, Brodie, and Jazz, baby, on Supercoach. But moving over to Brodie's side here. Brodie's trades this week. He did bring in Joseph Tarpanay for Dylan Egan, and he pushed out Jacob Carraz just for a little bit, and he brought in Ronaldo Mulatalo, a guy running red hot at the moment. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I flirted with the ideas of Ben Travojevic, because he's going to make some cash, and someone like Takiaho, they're going to both make some good cash and be good buy coverage. But for me, I went with these 2 guys because they're not only going to make a bit of cash, like Ronaldo's due for a price increase, but they're also good buy coverage. They only both miss 1 major buy, and they're both potential season-long holders. So I know Tarpany is 100%, and then Ronaldo could be. depending the form that Cronulla stay in. And I got a fair bit of cash left over. There's the option to make 3 trades this week. That's definitely not an option for me. I kind of want to bank a few of those. As long as I've got that 13, 14 players set for the next couple of weeks through Origin, I'm fine with that.
100%. And a little looking over your squad coming into this week, bro. You nailed on your captain and stuff at the moment. That's what it's going to be at the moment?
Vice captain of Herbie is nailed, and potential switching captain to either Teddy or a Joseph Tarpany.
Yeah, I love it. James Tedesco obviously playing in this one. Ruben Garrick, Tamale, Lucas, and Farnworth, all great scorers there. Ronaldo Militalo, and obviously Billy Smith. So very, very good scorers. The potential to go pretty high for your back row, your wings, center wings there. Nico Hines, second rows, Gikau, Hosking, and Vaimunga. And then front row, you got Joseph Tarpany. Shout out to Miles Martin, not Noah Martin, but that would have been crazy.
I just picked him up on Magic Round, remember, as you know the story. Went the wrong Martin, brother.
Crazy. And Blake Brayley and Sandon Smith playing up there in hookers, which is good coverage overall.
100%. Those 2 guys have been solid, set and forget all year. Won't have to touch them. Obviously, Lockie Galvin's going to play a bit of a play on what I do down the line there, where he ends up.
Yep, 100%. Very, very solid team coming into the weekend, brother. I'm sure you're going to absolutely kill it. Hopefully, we both kill it this weekend. Joseph Tarpany, if I do continue that, we continue to move up these ranks, because this is the perfect time to really catch up on ranks, I believe, in my opinion.
I agree. I reckon if Eliminator doesn't already have Joseph Tarpany, he'll be one guy that he brings in this week. And I reckon he would be ballsy enough to run a shout like you, bro, and trade out someone like Payne Haas for him.
Oh, bro. Yeah, probably. And, maybe this is just a smoke screen. Maybe just do it. Yeah, just do it, Liam. We're probably we're pushing you to something you shouldn't be doing, but no, you should be doing. Joseph Tarpany's going to kill it.
So looking at, if I go into his game day for this week upcoming, he's only got Ruben Garrick, Fletcher Sharp, James Tedesco, Wong, Nicola, Lucas, Hines, and Hoskins.
So you need to do a couple of trades to get the numbers.
He's only got 8 scheduled to play.
Yeah,
but
shit.
It probably hasn't showed me his trades yet, and he's holding Karaz by the looks of it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a lot out. He's got, Pappenhausen, Holmes, Munster, Hubner, Katoa, May, Hamish Stewart, Tino, Haas, Sandon Smith. Oh, Sandon Smith he hasn't selected, so he's probably not fully up to date with this.
Yeah.
He's got Jenkins, he's got Smith, those guys that can play, and he hasn't got them selected. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to compare myself to the best right now. So
we're trying to find ways to come back and take over, because in the Wires Up TV League, me and Brody sitting at the top there, and hopefully we continue to sit up top in that competition as well. And Jazzy sitting there as well, just looking at his team while I can. Dylan Brown, Nafahu White, Marcelo Montoya, Jermaine Asako, Mitch Barnett, Fine Fuyaki. This is over the weekend too, scoring-wise, so this is a team he has. Cohen Hess, Nico Hines, Blake Brayley, Clint Gufferson, Shibasaki, who got 96 over the weekend. Shout out to Shibs. Jesse Arthurs, Corey Horsburgh, Isaiah Tass, Royce Hunt, Cam Munster, Tino Fasul Malaawi. And he's still got some guns on the bench. Luke Metcalf there. Nathan Cleary's got on his side. Isaiah Iongi. Greg Marju, he's held on to. Robert Toya.
That squad is pretty solid, Jazzy. You just need to work on actually updating your team week in, week out.
Yeah, it might be just a plug and plays, Jazzy, and you would have been right there. So, man, jump it back in, bro. You may have an opportunity. Who knows? Because you're not at the bottom of Wires Up TV either. You're still, 1, 2, 3. You're 4th last there, just under Tans. But you still have the ability to keep climbing up those ranks, mate. So just get back into it, man.
100%.
All right. Anything more you want to touch on, or just quickly check out the chat here? Was a Jazz, bro, can somebody with a big social media presence plug this and Wise Up TV already, or what? It's fucking amazing. And it's crazy how there is thousands of viewers right now. The quality is top notch. Thank you so much, Jazzy, bro. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated, my bro.
It will come in time. The work we continue to do, you know, it's great to see that we are getting acknowledgement from you guys and that. And the more that you guys like and subscribe, the more it pushes the live stream and the channel in general. So we appreciate Brodie's time as always.
100%. Happy to give it up, boys.
All right. Anything more you want to touch on before you go?
That is all for me, brother. I'm going to grab some food and get ready for a 3 o'clock start.
I'm right there with you. 3 o'clock. Yuck.
Oh, like wake up.
Yeah, for a 4 o'clock start?
Yeah, bro. Yep.
Yuck. I know what that feels like.
It's all right.
Not too much, but I know what that feels like.
Hey, we all do our part.
We all do our part. All right, guys, thank you so much for the show tonight. So sorry again, no Supercoach show tomorrow night, but I feel like we did a great job to wind into this one. We gave you all the information. Hopefully you can use it over the weekend. Please make sure to comment down below any of your questions, and we'll try to get back to them just during the week before the lockout. And yeah, nothing more really to add. Up the wires, baby.
Up the doggies. Let's go again.
Right.
First, second.
Let's go. Take it easy, guys. Have a great weekend.